Black skies and velvet and chrome.
Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain,
I'm Lynn.
and today we're going to be reviewing and talking about Taelmoor. Now, we're going to do a discussion about how this game plays, and we're going to do a review to the best of our ability based on what we currently have, but this is a pre-release copy, and some things are a bit subject to change. I'm going to talk about that. I've decided I'll be able to give this game at the end of this when I review it as a number rating, like I normally do, with the caveat that it might adjust up or down as much as 1 point, depending on what the final production version actually looks like. And then you were saying, are you just going to kind of recommend or not
Yeah,
recommend?
I don't think I can give a number. Yeah.
And that's fair because this is not final. Like, there's going to be a nice insert, they say. There's going to be possible changes in some of the artwork. And there's definitely going to be changes in the app, which currently, this is an app-based adventure game. The app currently has 2 adventures on it, and there's eventually going to be 8 at least. So that's a lot of differences. So I think it's totally fair that you can give it a recommend or not recommend based on what we've already seen. So first thing I want to do is I want to give a big thank you to the Delve brothers for sending us this copy of Taelmoor to play and have fun with and review and talk about. And also, I want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. There's also a link to my Teespring store, where you can get some cool Board Game Captain merch, some cool gamer gear, t-shirts, mugs, etc. And there's also a link to my Patreon, where you can support the channel if you're in a position to and would like to. Head over to my Patreon, link in the description down below. Okay, so Taelmoor. Now, it is listed as 1 to 6 players. We played it at 2 specifically, just the 2 of us, and it lists as 60 to 90 minutes. That felt pretty right.
Yes.
I was gonna say the intro game is really fast, but then there's only 2 adventures so far, but the 2 adventures do fit in that time frame, and it says ages 14 and up. I thought that was a bit of an overestimate.
Yeah, I was wondering if because it is app based and you need a cell phone, maybe that's why. But you can share a phone.
Yeah.
Each individual player doesn't need their own phone.
And we tried that.
Yeah, we tried it both ways. We tried with each of us using our own mobile phones, and then we both shared a phone, and it worked fine. I mean, you could totally play with younger children. There's nothing like age inappropriate, at least not in the ones we played.
No,
And it's not difficult.
That's something I definitely need to talk about. This game is super easy. I mean, I read through the book, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, this is going to be a piece of cake. Now, the book is a total of the rule book. Well, first off, I want to say the rule book is very well done. It's full color, and I mean, this isn't the pre-production version, so it might even be nicer when it's production. But the pre-production version is really nice. It's full color. It's got diagrams, full explanations. Of course, the very important QR code that leads you to where you get the web-based app to run this game. And it's a total of about 11 pages, mostly really positive. There were a couple, my one gripe in the rulebook is there were a couple of symbols that were not here that are in the app. I'm guessing that's because they're still developing the app and adding in new things. And as they are, maybe this rulebook was written before some of those things were added in. I'm guessing the final rulebook will have, all of the possible symbols. But other than that, yeah, I thought the rulebook was quite fine. And after reading it, I was like, this is going to be so easy to teach. And then basically, I mean, you can literally one person needs to read the rulebook, and then everybody else can just learn by playing.
Yeah.
It's that easy. I don't usually.
Your phone basically tells you what you can do. You can move, you can interact, you can use an item, and that's it. You tap the thing you want to do, you scan the QR code, and it tells you everything. It does everything for you.
So let's talk about the setup and how you get ready to play this game. So once you've read the rulebook and you're all ready to play Taelmoor, there's a little QR code that appears in the bottom of the front page of the rulebook here. And the first thing you got to do is everyone who's going to be using their cell phone needs to scan the QR code. Now, we decided because we thought it was Lynn's idea to try it this way. I got to give credit where credit's due. Lynn says, well, we should try it out with only one phone because What if you only got one phone that's fully charged? So we did. We played one of the games with both our phones, where Lynn had her character in her phone, I had my character in my phone. We played one game where we just used my phone, and we had both our characters on there. Now, this is very useful for a couple of things. One, if some people don't have enough power on their phone, because if you're like having to be plugged in while you're playing, you'd have to sit right by an outlet. That could be difficult. So if not enough people had enough charge, you might want to use one or less phones. But also the other thing that's really good about this is if you're playing solo, you can play with any number of characters that you want. You can play this game solo and decide you want a party of 4 characters, which is totally doable. Like you can do that, and the characters are not super complicated that you couldn't decide to be like, well, no, but I want a balanced party, and I want to have the rogue, and I want to have the wizard, and I want to have the barbarian, I want to have like a bunch of people, and you can totally do that all on one phone. So that's a first big plus for me, because I like that that's all varied and optional. I like that there's multiple ways to do it. Anyway, so you scan it. It brings you to the website. The website, when you get there, it basically is like, okay, pick what scenario you want to do. And right now there's only 2 listed, but apparently eventually there's going to be 8. So you pick your scenario, and then it gives you a link that you can text to the other people, which this is really cool. Because once you've created your game, you text them. It's basically texting an invite, and then you just like click on the link in the text, and boom, you've joined the game. Super easy for when you're using multiple phones. My preferred way to do this is multiple phones. I think everybody should have their own phone. But if circumstances make it so that, not everybody has a working phone at the time, not everybody is full on charge, you can just pass a phone around and use it like the first player marker. So that is a thing. So once you've done that, you're going to select a class. Each class has its QR code, so you scan the QR code, and boom, you're ready to go.
And then it'll tell you if your character needs any special items.
Right. Because depending on the scenario, some characters get assigned special items that they can use. The items are little discs with QR codes on them as well. The class choices are Barbarian, Cleric, Dwarf, Elf, Rogue, and Wizard. Yes, they made Elf and Dwarf a class rather than a race, because you don't get to pick both a race and a class in this. You just pick basically a character archetype. So once you get them, your character has a character card, and they have a deck of cards. There's a little bit of deck building aspect to this as you level up. You get a deck of starting cards, and you have a deck of advanced cards. And you start with all your starting cards, and when combat comes up, you deal yourself a random hand of 5 cards, and you get to use those cards. But every time you go up levels, which usually happens when you have encounters and win fights, you get to replace one of those cards, cull it from your deck, and replace it with a more advanced card, in addition to the fact that maybe you get more hit points or other things. So that is really cool, because then you get to select how you level up, which actually I really liked that. What were your thoughts on the whole leveling up?
Yeah, I liked it.
It was really cool, because you could be like, well, this card does this thing that I don't really like, and I never use it when I get it in my hand. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to pick this other card to add to my deck that does something totally different, or is like a really powerful attack but might hurt me a little, so it's risky, but I just got more hit points, so it's okay. I really took to that concept. And then now you start with one room, and the rooms have QR codes too, just like the items, just like the people. And then your choices when it's your turn, and there are certain actions, like if you take an action that's totally inconsequential, it won't count as your action. So like if you do like search this room and it's like, yeah, there's nothing here, there's absolutely nothing here, it might be like you can still do something. Whereas if you do something that's consequential, like you open a door, you discover this new room, now you're done and it's the next person's time to go. But your choices are, you can inspect, interact, move, use an item, or pass. And then so the interact also includes when there's NPCs for talking to them, and then it gives you a bunch of dialogue options. That's probably one of the longest actions you could possibly take, but you can do that one totally as a group, because if Lynn interacted with somebody and there's a bunch of possible things you could ask them about, which they don't list them. What it does is you can ask them about and then scan something. So I could be like, oh, ask about that other room where that weird thing is, and see if they know about it. Or you could ask them about an item, ask them about themselves. So I like how they did that. It's kind of open-ended. You have to realize what to scan. What are your thoughts on the system?
I think it's very easy to use and to understand.
I think user-friendly is a good term for this system. It's very easy to understand. So the buttons of the inspect, interact, move, and for move, you just move and scan a room and you move to that room. It's got to be a room that's already discovered, of course. Use item and pass turn. All of these buttons are on the screen. And then, like, once you pick one, you got to scan something. So if it's inspect, you pick it, inspect the item, inspect the door or whatever it might be, or inspect the room, right? Okay, and then as you go, you're going to open up more rooms. You're going to find monsters to fight. And you're going to find more people to talk to and more items to pick up. And I mean, that's basically how the game goes. Have I missed anything?
No, it's all very self-explanatory. I mean, if you discover a new room, it just says place A3 to the east.
Right.
You know, I mean...
And the rooms are lettered and numbered, which makes them easy to find, which is really good. They've got the QR codes. One concern I had with this is that, like, what if some of your pieces get worn and the QR codes get hard to read? But they actually have you
can type it in instead.
And so, like, that even addressed that. Like, the only concern I actually have with this is if at some point if the app was no longer being supported. But as long as the app is online, this game is going to be playable. So that's literally the only concern I have left is if at some point the website gets taken down and the app is no longer available. But like I say, as long as the app is available, this game will be playable because even if the QR codes get damaged, you can just type in the letter number combination. It takes a little longer, but it's fine and it'll work. You actually tried doing that for a while to see if it was a hassle, and you actually kind of liked just tapping it in.
Yeah, my phone was having issues during the game, so I ended up just
tapping in the numbers,
entering it in manually.
So and that worked fine too. Okay, so yeah, and like I say, everything's QR code based. It's all about scanning the QR codes. Combat. We should talk about combat a little bit. We talked about the way dialogue works, but we haven't discussed combat very much. So the combat cards all have QR codes on them. And when you get into a combat, it turns into almost like a little classic role-playing game from like the 16-bit era.
Very loud music, but that might have just been our phone volume.
Yeah, it was my phone volume. I could have turned it down.
It was very loud.
You should have told me. I would have turned it down.
Battle music.
I liked the battle music. I was digging it. I was all like, 16-bit generation battle music. I was getting down. So the monsters show up on the screen, and they show symbols basically telling you, are they attacking? Are they defending? Are they doing something that's going to raise someone's stats or curse someone and lower their stats? And they have a little symbol that basically tells you who they're doing it to. And then they also have a number based on their initiative. So you can see, and you can look at your cards and be like, well, this one is so fast it's going to go before any of them. Do you have anything that's going to kill any of them? You're like, yeah, but it's slow. It's going after them. What should we do? And then you start to discuss strategies. I really like that you can see their initiative because it really helps you to pick the right cards, because each card has a speed stat, which is going to tell you, is it going before your enemy? Is it going after your enemy? And then also, none of it's random. Like, it doesn't do random. I shouldn't say none of it's random. They have some cards that hit a random enemy, but they all tell you how fast they're going, how much damage they do, so you know, am I going to be like able, after you've fought some of these monsters before and you know how many hit points they have, you're like, can I kill this monster? Yes or no? Can I go before them and maybe like get my defenses up because they're all attacking me? And you can discuss that. You can discuss the strategies with the different players. I really like this combat system. Some people might find it a little weird because usually in most role-playing games there's some sort of dice rolling, but there's actually not a lot of randomness in this. If you do an attack, you're going to hit the enemy. If you do a defense, you're going to get a shield up to block some damage coming at you from the enemy. It's just what ability you do is what happens. It's almost complete information, except for the fact that you have a random hand. What were your thoughts on the combat?
I thought it was fine. My only complaint is that you can't choose what enemy to hit. Your card tells you. It'll say like it hits the person in the back row on the left.
Yeah.
And that's really my only complaint, because one of the characters I played, all their basic cards like just hit the same person, and I'm like, every combat I was like, well, I can't even hit the dude you need me to hit because all my cards just hit the other one.
Well, I think it was the cards. I think you had other cards that did, but you hadn't drawn them. But like in that particular combat, you were only hitting guys like on the left, I think it was. But I think that part of that is also like why it is that you and the other characters will, or rather the other players will discuss like, okay, well, I have this card that can do this. Do you have a card that could do something like that? And you're like, no, but I could do this. And I think it because of you having the hand of cards, and because it doesn't tell you like show everybody your cards, it seems to me like they had in mind trying to deter alpha gaming, because you have to discuss. You have to be like, okay, can you hit the guy on the left? No, but I can hit the guy on the right. Or I could raise a shield. Like, well, I can hit the guy on the right already. They seem to be attacking you. Maybe you should do that shield thing you talked about. And the thing, because of that, the forced discussion, it really like works to dissuade people from alpha gaming. Because if you could see everybody's cards, you could just be like, you do that, I do that, I do that. And of course, that's terrible. Then some people are not going to enjoy themselves. So yeah, I thought I did think that was good. I thought that was a good thing, is what I'm trying to say. Also, though, I do want to talk to you about so the app really made this game very accessible because of how it took care of everything. So the app took the place of an adventure book, any kind of dice rolls. It took the place of anything other than the board itself, the pawn that shows where the party is, the tokens that are the monsters, the tokens that are the items, and the decks of cards. Everything other than that is in the app. And like every time you go into a room and you want to do something, normally like with a game like this, you'd have a giant adventure book and you'd be doing a lot of paging back and forth. But this made it fast, because this had story every turn. Every turn you're like inspecting something and getting something described to you. And rather than have to look it up in an adventure book, it just tells you. And then whoever's turn it is reads it to the group. And I thought that was very streamlined, and actually one of the best ways to use an app. Because, like, adventure books are clunky by nature. I know you love them. But you have to admit that adventure books are clunky by nature.
Well, I love having a big, thick book that you gotta... It makes me feel like I'm a wizard. Like, you have to page through this giant book.
But do you... But, like, okay, like, when we're playing Tales of the Arabian Nights, which is your favorite storytelling game, and I'm not even going to ask if you like this one better than it, because it's your favorite one of all time. You have one person with a book, another person with like a chart, and you have to cross-reference between the two of them to find the storyline bit to read, right?
Yeah.
And in this, you just scan something and then go, you enter a dark corridor. There is a green slime at the end, and it's like making squishy noises and whatever it might say, but it says everything right there for you, and it's so much faster. Do you not see
Faster is not always better.
Oh. Was it, though? Come on.
No.
Okay, so let me hear why you didn't think it was better than the book.
I enjoy looking through books.
So it's idiosyncratic.
Whatever.
It was way streamlined. Okay, so I can be sometimes a little hit or miss with apps. Sometimes I think apps are not necessary depending on the game. I think there are certain ways that apps are very necessary and very good. And in this case, this is kind of the right way to do an app for me. I like the whole animating the combats, and I like the whole way it does the storyline bits. I think it was really, really good. Would you admit that that's good?
Yeah.
Okay, because you said you enjoyed it. You liked all the stuff that came up. So I mean, this game plays, obviously, it's like a cross between a dungeon crawler, which is usually like an RPG light board game, and a storytelling game. The storytelling is really basically that it's like a dungeon crawler that if you didn't have the app, you would have a big storytelling book, because there's tons of atmospheric descriptions and descriptions of characters and descriptions of rooms and all of that. Is really what the big story is. And generally speaking, you'll get a story as to why it is you're searching a particular dungeon, castle, forested area, whatever it might be. The first couple of ones are dungeons, though we've seen terrain pieces in here that are like bits of forest and stuff. You get a description as to why you're there, and then as you're exploring, you get bits more of the story. So I want to, did you have anything else you want to talk to about the base game, about everything that we've looked at?
So.
There's a lot of stuff in here we're not able to use yet, because like there's tons of bad guys. Not all of them showed up in the couple of adventures we're able to try. So obviously they're planning to do lots more. There's tons of rooms, and we didn't get to use all the rooms yet. There's going to be adventures that chain into a campaign where you get to keep your levels. In fact, one of the adventures that is available right now, there's a tutorial adventure and there's a single adventure that is supposed to be part 1 of 3, we went through both of them, and in the one that was part 1 of 3, there was a point where it stopped, and obviously it was the wait for the next time. But by the time it stopped, I think we were like level 2 or 3, so like you were going to get to keep leveling up as you went, which was really kind of cool. I think we were level 3 on that one.
I don't recall.
I don't recall either, but I think it was 3. Anyway, but now I'd like to talk a little bit about, and we can discuss this. I sent out some questions to one of the 3 designers, the Delve brothers, and he got back to me on some of my questions. These are some of the big questions I had about what kind of things we're going to be looking forward to when this is in production, when it has a nice insert, when everything is final and there's 8 scenarios up on the website, etc. So I had some big questions for him. So the first question I had was, I saw that there were going to be 8 scenarios by release, and I wanted to know if that included or did not include the tutorial scenario, and he answered me that it did in fact include the tutorial scenario. However, they are stretch goals on their Kickstarter, and if they reach them, some of the stretch goals will include extra scenarios. They also have a Kickstarter exclusive pledge level, which you might be able to hurry and get because I think this is going to be out before the Kickstarter ends. That includes bonus scenarios. You can pay a little more to get some bonus scenarios that they're going to be working on. So, and I think it says 3 bonus scenarios, putting you at a total of 12. So that's a lot. So, excuse me, the 12 includes the bonus scenario that is a stretch goal. As long as that stretch goal is met and you pay for the extra 3 scenarios, that will be a total of 12. The next question I had was about the fact that there are going to be campaigns, multiple scenarios chained together. The current one that's in there is called The Call, and it's going to be part of a 3-game campaign. And I asked, are there going to be more within those 8 or more if you get the others? And they told me that there will be at least 1 other multi-part scenario, and then, of course, some one-shots. And then the next thing I was asking about was if they intended to do periodic releases of more scenarios after the game is released, and if so, will they be free of charge, or will there be a charge for more scenarios? They are planning to do more as long as it is successful, and they want to release new scenarios in the app over time. They want to release both free and paid new scenarios. So they're hoping to be able to release some for free, but to keep funding the website, they are probably going to be releasing packs of some that will be paid for. And then a big question I had, this was one that I know some of you are thinking of too. Do you intend to allow the community to make their own scenarios? And they want to. They're not set up to do it yet, but they say one day this is something that they really want to have happen and really excites them. They would like to have community content added to the app. So I think this is pretty freaking cool. Now there are again, this is early stages. This is pre-production. We had a few hiccups with the app, but they say that they're working on it, and the app is going to be significantly overhauled by the time this goes into production. But I would say overall, it wasn't bad. I have seen games with production apps that didn't work as well as this one, hiccups included. So yeah, the fact that it's going to be getting even better and have a lot more scenarios is a big positive for me. I didn't really have any glaring negatives. Did you have any negatives that you want to call attention to with Taelmoor?
The only thing is when we were sharing the phone, it was kind of the thing that said it would just be a line of text that was the same font and color of everything else that would just say like it's the elf's turn.
Oh no, it had a highlighted ring around your face.
Well,
did you not see that?
No, I did not see that.
Oh, I should have pointed it out to you. I didn't even realize.
So I found it a bit difficult to realize whose turn it was without, because there's text on the top, and then like let me finish.
Okay.
There's text on the top, and there's text on the bottom with the different things you can do and the buttons, and there's just like in the middle with like no difference in anything. It's just like it's the elf's turn. There
was on the top. There was a little portrait of each character, and it lit up around them to show it was their turn.
Well, it didn't light up enough.
Okay, well, you didn't notice it. I noticed it. I thought it was pretty obvious. I guess I should have pointed it out to you. I'll point it out to you next time we play the game when the next adventure comes out, because I do want to play. I'm hoping to be able to continue that 3-part adventure that only the first part is out yet. I hope that's the next game that comes out, because I want to keep leveling up and try to keep continuing to level up with these characters, because I do think that is really cool. Now, I've been talking a lot about the positives I feel. How about what are your biggest positives in Taelmoor?
The ease of just starting to play.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm one of those people that I need to do something in order to fully grasp it. Like you can talk to me and read a rule book at me for like hours, but until I actually play the game, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I thoroughly agree with you that that's one of the biggest strengths of this game is how, like when we played, we literally, I just told you, look, this is a total learn while you play a game. All we really need to do is get in the app and start going, and it's just going to go. And you were like, okay. And we started going, and like, it didn't even really need any explanation. You were just like I gave you the explanation for the combat. That was the one bit that really needed to be explained. But otherwise, I was like, well, you can expect something. You can interact with something. And you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And like, how do I do that? I'm like, well, you hit the button and you scan it. You're like, oh, okay. And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised it's taken this long for someone to do a game based on QR codes, because QR codes have been around for a long time and smartphones have been around for a long time. It seems like a no-brainer, but nobody's thought of it before now, and it's actually kind of cool. It's a really interesting way to do things about it. Like, oh, I'm going to inspect this thing and I'll read the QR code. I'm going to, it doesn't do this. I do this. So, but right? I mean, like, it seems like something that, you would have thought someone would have thought of by now, like using that in the game.
Someone probably has. It's just probably been another small release.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, all right. Let's bottom line it. I think. Why don't we let you review this one first?
Okay. Well, I think it has potential. I would give it a thumbs up
Well, give the thumbs up then.
thumbs up if you think it sounds interesting. It might be your thing.
So now your main thing holding you back is because you can't see more of the adventures and you can't see the final components and everything, that you don't think you can give it a number. Is that basically the thing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair, and that is totally fair. They did send us. It's a pre-production copy. They said most of it's going to be pretty close to production. They said the combat cards, everybody's deck of combat cards, is going to have upgraded artwork. It's not; those are not going to look the same, but the monsters are going to look the same. The rooms are going to look the same. So most of it is pretty done. But there's also going to be an insert, and also the app is going to be significantly upgraded, is what they're saying. They use the term significantly, so there's going to be a lot of changes in the app coming to improve the flow and iron out glitches, I suppose.
There were some glitches.
There were a few glitches, but again, it's early. I mean, they're nowhere near production yet. So my thing is, I really like this. I agree with you that this has lots of potential, but I also feel like it's already showing that it is attaining some of its potential. I'm excited about this. I think this is a really great way to use an app, and I do hope that this app stays available for play for ages. I really want this to be a kind of a perpetual thing, and I hope that people can continue to make more and more adventures for this, because I had a blast playing this. This is actually one of the better experiences I have had with a dungeon crawler, because generally speaking, I feel like a lot of dungeon crawlers are very hit or miss with me, modern ones, but the way this one worked was great. I really enjoyed it. I loved inspecting barrels and popping open chests with this. I got the joy that I used to get from dungeon crawlers when I was a kid from Taelmoor, and that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to give a number score with a asterisk, and the asterisk is that I do feel that depending on the final production, my number score could vary as much as a point up or down. So like if the production is worse than I'm expecting, it could go a full number down. If it's like blows my mind, more amazing than I'm expecting, it could go a full number up. But I'm gonna put it cautiously at an 8-star rating. So like if the production disappoints me, that could go down to a 7, though the game is still solid and still good, and I would not go into even mediocre scores on it. Not possible, because I do really like the game, but it could go down to a 7 if the production really disappoints me. On the other hand, if the production blows my mind, I could go as high as a 9. But for right now, I'm going to tentatively give it an 8 with that asterisk to possibly varying a point. But I would definitely recommend this. If you haven't backed it and you're thinking this sounds cool and there's still time to back it when you watch this video, I would recommend doing so. If this game is out in stores, one way or another, regardless of whether the production stayed roughly the same as what we were looking at or got even better, I would still recommend you check this game out if you are into dungeon crawling and adventure and storytelling games. I thought this was really awesome. So I guess this is a 2 thumbs up review from us.
Yep.
Because we both recommend it. There you have it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, either on the game of Taelmoor or on this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.